The road to the manor was little more than a scar through the forest, a path that seemed to resist being traveled. My rented car groaned as its tires slipped over mud and stone, the headlights catching on crooked trees that leaned toward me like witnesses. I had come here to study folklore, to gather the whispers of a forgotten region, but the silence of the woods already felt like a warning. When the manor finally appeared, it did not rise proudly from the earth. It crouched. Its roof sagged like a tired beast, its windows glimmered faintly with the dull sheen of old glass, and its walls seemed to breathe with dampness. I cut the engine, and the sudden absence of sound was worse than the noise. That was when I saw the cat. It sat at the threshold, a black and silver creature whose fur shimmered strangely in the moonlight. Its eyes were not the yellow of ordinary cats, but a pale metallic gleam, as though they reflected something deeper than light. It did not move when I approached. It only watched, tail curled neatly around its paws, as if it had been waiting for me. The villagers had spoken of this animal, though never directly. In the tavern, when I asked about the manor, their voices dropped. One old woman muttered that the cat chooses who may stay. Another spat into her drink and said nothing more. I had dismissed it as superstition, the kind of tale that clings to places where history rots. But now, standing before the manor, I felt the weight of their words. I unlocked the door. The cat rose, padded forward, and slipped inside before me. The interior smelled of dust and damp wood. My footsteps echoed too loudly, as though the house were hollow. The cat moved with purpose, weaving through the shadows, pausing at the base of the staircase. I followed uneasy until it stopped and scratched at the floorboards. When I bent down, I saw the mark it had left, a symbol crude yet deliberate, carved into the dust with its claws. My breath caught. I recognized it. Weeks earlier, in the archives of the university, I had found sketches of regional sigils, marks said to ward off spirits or invite them. This one was among them, labeled only as Threshold. I had written it off as a curiosity, a fragment of forgotten superstition. Yet here it was, drawn by the cat itself. The air thickened. The house seemed to listen. I told myself it was coincidence, that the animal had scratched at random, but the lines were too precise, too deliberate. The cat sat back, its silver eyes fixed on me, waiting for acknowledgement. I whispered aloud, though I did not mean to. Why? The cat blinked slowly, then turned and padded deeper into the house. I should have left then. I should have locked the door, driven back through the forest, and abandoned my study. But curiosity is a disease, and I was already infected. I followed the cat into the dark. The manor's corridors stretched longer than they should have. Shadows clung to the corners, refusing to disperse even when I lit a lamp. The cat led me to a hallway where the wallpaper peeled like dead skin. At the end stood a door I did not remember from the exterior. The cat sat before it, tail flicking once, twice. I reached for the knob. It was cold, colder than the air around it. Behind me the house sighed. And in that moment I understood the cat was not a guardian nor a pet. It was a guide, a herald, a key to something waiting beyond the ordinary rooms of the manor. I opened the door. The manor did not sleep. I lay on the narrow bed in the upstairs chamber, the sheets smelling faintly of mildew, listening to the silence. It was not the silence of peace, but of something holding its breath. The cat had vanished after leading me to the strange door, leaving me alone with the echo of my own heartbeat. The walls creaked, the floorboards shifted. At first I thought it was the natural settling of old wood, but the rhythm was wrong. Too deliberate, too much like footsteps. I rose, lamp in hand, and opened the door to the hallway. The light spilled out, catching dust motes that swirled like ash. The corridor stretched longer than I remembered, its shadows thick and unmoving. Then I saw it, the cat sitting halfway down the hall, its silver eyes gleaming. It did not move, but its gaze was fixed on a door at the far end. A door I had not seen before. I whispered, "No." The cat blinked, slow and patient, as if it had all the time in the world. I stepped back into my room, shut the door, and tried to convince myself it was imagination. But the footsteps returned, soft, measured, pacing outside my chamber. I pressed my ear to the wood. The sound was not human, too light, too precise. The lamp flickered. I turned, and the shadows in the room shifted. The wardrobe loomed taller. The window seemed narrower, and the air grew heavy. I felt the presence of something watching, not from outside, but from within the walls themselves. The cat scratched once at the door. I opened it again. The hallway was empty. The cat was gone. But the door at the far end remained. Waiting, I forced myself to walk toward it, each step louder than it should have been. The floor groaned beneath me, as though protesting. When I reached the door, I touched the knob. It was cold, colder than before. I turned it. The door opened onto nothing. A blank wall, plaster cracked and stained. No corridor, no passage, just emptiness. I exhaled, relief flooding me, until I heard the whisper. It came from behind the wall, faint but distinct. A voice low and urgent, speaking words I could not understand. The sound seeped through the plaster like smoke. I pressed my hand against it, and the wall pulsed beneath my palm, warm and alive. The cat appeared again, silent at my feet. It stared at me, then at the wall, then back at me. Its tail flicked once. The whisper grew louder. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the lamp. The cat followed, padding gracefully, leading me away from the door. I obeyed, too shaken to resist. When I reached my room again, the cat leapt onto the bed and curled into a ball, its silver eyes closing. The whisper ceased. The house fell silent once more. I sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. The cat purred softly, but the sound was wrong. It was not the gentle hum of contentment. It was deeper, resonant, vibrating through the floorboards, a sound that belonged not to an animal, but to the house itself. I did not sleep that night. I watched the cat, and the cat watched me, even with its eyes closed. And when dawn finally broke, pale and weak through the window, I realized something terrible. The house had given me a choice, and I had already taken the first step toward accepting it. Morning brought no comfort. The pale light that seeped through the windows only revealed how warped the manor truly was. The wallpaper sagged like wet skin, the floorboards bowed, as if something beneath them pressed upward, and the air smelled faintly of iron. I tried to convince myself that the night had been a trick of exhaustion, that the footsteps and whispers were born of nerves. But the cat was waiting in the hallway, silver eyes unblinking, tail flicking with deliberate rhythm. It padded toward the far end where the impossible door had appeared. I followed, though dread coiled in my stomach. The door stood where no door should be, its frame crooked, its wood darker than the others. I touched the knob again. Cold, too cold. When I opened it, the corridor beyond stretched unnaturally long, lined with mirrors on both sides. I hesitated, but the cat slipped inside without pause. The mirrors reflected me, but not truly. Each image was wrong. One showed me older, hair streaked with gray, eyes hollow. Another showed me bloodied, shirt torn, lips twisted into a smile I did not wear. A third showed me standing in the corridor, but with no cat at my feet. I whispered, "This isn't real." The cat moved ahead, its reflection absent from every mirror. That absence was worse than the distortions. It was as if the mirrors refused to acknowledge its existence, or as if it belonged to something beyond reflection. I walked slowly, lamp raised, watching myself fracture into dozens of versions. Some whispered, lips moving though no sound reached me. Others pressed their hands against the glass, desperate, pleading. One slammed its fists until cracks spidered across the surface. The corridor stretched longer with each step. I turned once, hoping to retreat, but the door behind me was gone. Only more mirrors, endless, each showing me unraveling in different ways. The cat stopped before a tall mirror at the end. Its silver eyes gleamed, and for the first time I thought I saw recognition in them, like it knew me, or knew what I would become. I approached. The reflection in the final mirror was not me. It was the corridor itself, empty with no cat, no lamp, no figure at all. Just a hollow passage, waiting. I reached out, compelled. My fingers brushed the glass. It was warm. The mirror pulsed. A whisper rose, not from behind the glass, but from within me. A voice that sounded like mine, but older, broken, filled with hunger. "Step through." The cat hissed softly, a sound like steam escaping from stone. It turned, padded back down the corridor, and vanished into shadow. I staggered after it, desperate to escape. The mirrors cracked as I passed, shards falling silently, vanishing before they touched the floor. The corridor shortened suddenly, collapsing in on itself, until I stumbled back into the hallway of the manor. The door slammed shut behind me. When I turned, the door was gone. Only blank wall remained, plaster stained and peeling. The cat sat nearby, grooming its paw, as if nothing had happened. But the smell lingered, the smell of rot faint and undeniable. I leaned against the wall, trembling, lamp flickering in my hand. The house had shown me something, though I did not yet understand what. The cat lifted its head, eyes gleaming, and I realized with a chill that it was not leading me astray. It was leading me deeper. The morning after the corridor of mirrors, I searched the manor with a feverish determination. I needed proof, something tangible to explain what I had seen. Dust clung to my hands as I pried open drawers, lifted rugs, and tapped at the walls for hollow spaces. The cat followed me silently, its silver eyes gleaming with a patience that felt almost mocking. It was beneath the floorboards of the study that I found it. A journal bound in cracked leather, its pages swollen with damp. The handwriting was jagged, hurried, as though the author had written while pursued. The first entries were mundane notes about harvests, weather, and the illnesses of livestock. But as the pages turned, the tone shifted. The writer spoke of the cat between rooms, a creature that appeared at thresholds, scratching symbols into the dust. He described how the cat led him into places that should not exist, corridors of mirrors, staircases that descended into darkness, rooms that breathed. One passage chilled me. The cat is not a beast, but a passage. It does not guard the house. It is the house. It chooses who may walk between rooms, who may see the spaces that lie beneath the skin of the world. But beware, the second crossing binds you. Once you follow it twice, you belong to the labyrinth. I closed the journal, my hands trembling. The words echoed my own experience. I had already crossed once. The cat had led me into the corridor of mirrors. If the journal was true, another crossing would mean my fate was sealed. The cat leapt onto the desk, brushing against the journal with its paw. Its eyes met mine, and I felt the weight of its gaze. It knew I had read the warning, it knew I understood. I whispered, "Why me?" The cat tilted its head, as if amused. Then it scratched at the desk, carving the same symbol I had seen before, threshold. The house groaned. The walls shivered. I fled the study, journal clutched to my chest, heart pounding. The corridors seemed longer, the doors more numerous. I passed one I did not recognize, its knob gleaming faintly. I did not dare open it. Back in my chamber, I read further. The journal spoke of cages filled with shadows, each shaped like a person. The writer claimed they were echoes of those who crossed twice. He described how the cat guided him to an empty cage waiting for him, whispering in a voice that was his own. The final entry was smeared, the ink blurred by water or tears. But I could still make out fragments. Cannot leave. The house grows. Each soul another room. I hear myself whispering in the walls. I shut the journal, bile rising in my throat. The cat sat at the doorway, tail flicking. It did not move closer, but its presence was enough. I understood now. The house was not haunted in the way I had imagined. It was alive, expanding, feeding, and the cat was its herald, its guide, its lure. The journal had warned me, do not follow twice. But even as I resolved to resist, I knew the truth. The cat would not stop. The house would not stop. And curiosity, my curse, would not let me stop either. That night I dreamed of mirrors cracking, of corridors stretching into infinity, of cages filled with shadows whispering my name. When I woke, the cat was on my chest, its silver eyes inches from mine. And I knew the second crossing was already waiting. I told myself I would resist. I told myself I would not follow the cat again. But resistance is a fragile thing in the manor. It crumbles like plaster beneath damp fingers. The second night came heavy, the air thick with the smell of rot and iron. I sat awake, journal open on my lap, reading the warning over and over, do not follow twice. The second crossing binds you. The cat sat at the foot of the bed, silver eyes gleaming in the lamplight. It did not move, did not blink. It simply waited. At midnight, the sound began. A scratching, faint but insistent, from the hallway. I rose, lamp in hand, and opened the door. The cat slipped out, tail flicking, leading me toward the far end. The impossible door had returned. I whispered, no. But the cat pressed its paw against the wood, claws clicking softly, and the door opened. The corridor stretched before me, longer than before, lined with mirrors that pulsed faintly, as though alive. I stepped inside. The mirrors reflected me, but each image was fractured. One showed me gaunt, eyes hollow, lips whispering words I could not hear. Another showed me drenched in blood, smiling with teeth too sharp. A third showed me standing in the corridor, but with no lamp, no cat. Only darkness. The cat moved ahead, its reflection absent. I followed. The whispers rose from the mirrors, voices of people I knew. My mother, long dead, my professors, distant and forgotten. Clara, my childhood friend. Their lips moved, their eyes pleaded, but no sound reached me. Then the glass cracked. The whispers became screams, muffled but urgent, pressing against the glass as though the reflection sought to escape. Shards fell silently, vanishing before they touched the floor. The cat led me deeper until the corridor opened into a chamber. Cages lined the walls, each filled with shadows shaped like people. They shifted, restless, their forms indistinct but unmistakably human. Their eyes glowed faintly, hollow and desperate. One cage was empty. I froze. The shadow within the empty cage was not faceless. It was Clara. Her outline was clear, her voice unmistakable. She whispered, "Help me." I staggered forward, lamp trembling in my hand. "You're alive," I whispered. "You're not here." But the shadow spoke again, her voice breaking. "Release me, please." The cat pressed against my legs, urging me closer. Its silver eyes gleamed, patient, expectant. I touched the bars. The shadow surged forward, fusing into me. My chest burned, my vision blurred, and I collapsed to my knees. Clara's voice echoed inside my skull, whispering, pleading, screaming. The cat purred, deep and resonant, vibrating through the chamber. I staggered back, trembling, marked. The cages rattled, shadows pressing against their bars, whispering my name. The cat turned, padding toward the corridor. I followed, too weak to resist. The mirrors cracked as we passed, reflections shattering, fragments vanishing into nothing. The corridor shortened, collapsing, until we stumbled back into the Manor's hallway. The door slammed shut. The cat sat before me, silver eyes gleaming. It had led me twice. I understood now. I was bound. The house had claimed me. The Manor did not let me rest. Even when I closed my eyes, I saw the cages. I heard the whispers. And always Clara's voice lingered inside me, faint but insistent, like a splinter lodged too deep to remove. By day, the house seemed almost ordinary. Dusty rooms, sagging furniture, the smell of damp wood. But every shadow carried weight, every silence pressed against my ears. The cat followed me constantly now, never straying far, its silver eyes gleaming with quiet expectation. I tried to convince myself Clara's shadow was a trick, a hallucination born of fear. But when I opened the journal again, the words seemed to shift beneath my gaze. Sentences I had not noticed before appeared, written in a hand that looked disturbingly like mine. The shadow of the familiar binds tighter than the stranger. It knows your name. It knows your guilt. I slammed the journal shut, heart pounding. That night Clara came to me, not in flesh, but in form. Her outline shimmered in the corner of my room, faint and translucent, like smoke caught in a draught. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, but her voice was unmistakable. "Why did you leave me?" she whispered. I froze. "Clara, you're alive, you're not here." Her lips trembled. "I am here. You brought me here." The cat leapt onto the bed, tail flicking, eyes fixed on Clara's shadow. It purred, deep and resonant, vibrating through the floorboards. Clara's form wavered, then solidified, her features sharpening into something closer to flesh. I reached out, trembling. My hand passed through her, but the chill that clung to my skin was real. "You must release me," she said. "The cage was mine. You touched it. Now I am bound to you." "No, I didn't mean to. I didn't." Her eyes darkened. "Intent does not matter. The house does not care. The cat does not care. You are marked, and I am yours." The cat purred louder, its silver eyes gleaming. Clara's shadow stepped closer, her voice breaking. "You will give me back. You will give me to the house." I staggered back, lamp flickering in my hand. "No, I won't." The cat hissed softly, a sound like steam escaping stone. Clara's shadow flickered, her form splitting into fragments, each whispering my name. The room warped, walls stretching, ceiling lowering until I felt trapped in a shrinking box. I screamed and the shadows vanished. The cat sat calmly on the bed, grooming its paw as if nothing had happened. But Clara's voice remained inside me, whispering, pleading, accusing. The next day the villagers came. They stood at the edge of the forest, faces pale, eyes wide. One of them, an old man with trembling hands, shouted, "You've crossed twice. We can see it in your eyes. You are bound." I tried to protest, but Clara's voice rose inside me, echoing through my skull. The villagers recoiled, as though they heard her too. The cat sat at my feet, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking. I understood then Clara was not a ghost in the ordinary sense. She was a shadow, a fragment of the labyrinth, bound to me because I had touched her cage. She was mine and I was hers. The house had claimed us both, and the cat was waiting for me to accept it. The villagers came at dusk, their faces pale, their eyes hollow with fear. They did not cross the threshold of the manor, but stood at the edge of the clearing, as though the soil itself was poisoned. One of them, an old man with trembling hands, called out, "You've crossed twice. We can see it in your eyes. You are bound." I stepped forward, journal clutched to my chest. "What do you mean?" The villagers murmured among themselves, voices low and urgent. Finally, the old man spoke again. "The cat has chosen you. It has led you into the hidden rooms. That is how the house grows. Each generation, one is taken. Each generation, one becomes part of the labyrinth." I shook my head. "No, I came here to study folklore. I don't belong to this place." A woman stepped forward, her face lined with grief. "My brother was taken. He followed the cat twice. We never saw him again. Only his shadow remained, whispering in the walls." The cat appeared then, silent, silver eyes gleaming in the twilight. The villagers recoiled, crossing themselves, muttering prayers. The cat sat calmly at my feet, tail flicking as though claiming me before them all. The old man's voice broke. "You cannot leave. Once marked, the house follows you. Even if you flee, the rooms will open wherever you go. The cat will find you." I felt Clara's voice rise inside me, whispering, pleading, accusing. The villagers flinched, as though they heard her too. The woman's eyes filled with tears. "We tried to destroy it once. We burned the manor. But the fire spread into the forest, consuming everything. The house rebuilt itself stronger, hungrier. The cat returned silver-eyed, waiting at the threshold." I staggered back, heart pounding. "Then what am I supposed to do?" The old man shook his head. "There is no escape. You are part of it now. The labyrinth grows with you. Every shadow you touch, every voice you hear becomes another room. The cat will guide you deeper, until you are no longer yourself." The villagers turned away, their faces pale, their voices hushed. They would not help me. They could not. The cat purred softly, deep and resonant, vibrating through the ground. The manor shivered, its walls groaning, its windows rattling. I understood then the villagers were not merely afraid of the house, they were afraid of me. I was becoming the labyrinth. That night I dreamed of corridors stretching endlessly, mirrors cracking, cages rattling. Clara's voice echoed inside me, whispering my name, begging for release. The cat prowled through my dreams, silver eyes gleaming, leading me deeper into the dark. When I woke, the villagers were gone. The clearing was silent. The cat sat at the foot of my bed, watching me with patient expectation. I whispered, "What do you want from me?" The cat blinked slowly, then scratched the symbol into the floorboards. Threshold. The house groaned. The walls shivered. And I knew the truth. The villagers had remembered, but their memory was useless. The cycle was endless. The cat had chosen me, and the labyrinth was already growing. The manor summoned me. I felt it in the marrow of my bones, a pull that was not physical but undeniable. The cat prowled ahead, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking with deliberate rhythm. I followed, though every step felt like surrender. The great hall was waiting. I had seen it before, dusty, sagging, filled with broken furniture. But tonight it was transformed. The walls were lined with mirrors, dozens of them, each tall and warped, their surfaces rippling faintly as though alive. The cat leapt gracefully onto the long table at the center, its paws silent, its gaze fixed on me. The mirrors reflected me, but not truly. Each image was fractured. Wrong one showed me gaunt, eyes hollow, lips whispering words I could not hear. Another showed me drenched in blood, smiling with teeth too sharp. A third showed me standing in the hall, but with no cat, no lamp, only darkness. Then the reflections began to move independently. They whispered secrets I had never confessed. They spoke of guilt I had buried, desires I had denied, fears I had hidden. Their voices overlapped, a cacophony of truths I had never wanted spoken aloud. I staggered back, lamp trembling in my hand. "Stop," I whispered. The reflections did not stop. They pressed their hands against the glass, lips moving, eyes pleading. One slammed its fists until cracks spidered across the surface. Another laughed, a sound that echoed through the hall, though no mouth moved. The cat leapt into one of the mirrors. Its body passed through the glass as though it were water vanishing into the reflection. My reflections followed. One by one, they stepped out of the mirrors, their forms solidifying, their eyes gleaming with hunger. They surrounded me, whispering, laughing, accusing. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the hall. The cat reappeared, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking. It purred, deep and resonant, vibrating through the floorboards. The reflections pressed closer, their hands cold, their voices urgent. "You are us," they whispered. "We are you." The mirrors rippled, their surfaces shivering, their cracks spreading. The hall groaned, walls stretching, ceiling lowering, until I felt trapped in a shrinking box. The cat leapt onto my shoulder, its weight heavy, its claws digging into my skin. Its voice filled my mind, not spoken but undeniable. "You are the next room. You are the feast." The reflections surged forward, their forms merging, their voices rising. I felt myself unraveling, my body dissolving into corridors, my mind fracturing into mirrors. The cat purred louder, its silver eyes gleaming. And I understood, the feast was not of flesh, but of self. The house consumed identity, devouring every version of me, every reflection, every shadow. I collapsed to my knees, trembling, lamp flickering in my hand. The reflections pressed closer, their voices rising, their hands cold. The cat whispered again, "You are the labyrinth, you are the house, you are endless." The mirrors shattered. The hall fell silent. I was alone, but I was not myself. The manor had grown restless. Its walls groaned like a body shifting in sleep. Its windows rattled, though no wind stirred outside. I felt the weight of the house pressing against me, as though it were aware of my every breath. The cat prowled ahead, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking with deliberate rhythm. I followed, though dread coiled in my stomach. It led me to the library, a room I had avoided until now. The shelves sagged beneath the weight of books swollen with damp. Their spines cracked, their pages yellowed. The air smelled of mold and iron. The cat leapt onto a table, its paws silent, its gaze fixed on me. Then it spoke, not with a voice but directly into my mind. The words were not heard but felt, vibrating through my skull, echoing in my bones. "You are the next room." I staggered back, lamp flickering in my hand. "What do you mean?" The cat's silver eyes gleamed. "The house grows. Each soul becomes a passage. Each shadow becomes a wall. You are chosen. You are vessel." I shook my head. "No, I won't let you." The cat purred, deep and resonant, vibrating through the floorboards. "You cannot resist. You have crossed twice. You are bound. The labyrinth is inside you now." The walls shivered, the shelves groaned. Books fell, pages scattering like dead leaves. I clutched the journal, desperate. There must be a way to stop this. There must be a way to escape. The cat tilted its head, amused. "Escape is illusion. The house is endless. The labyrinth is hunger. You are its feast." Clara's voice rose inside me, whispering, pleading, accusing. The cat's eyes gleamed, and I understood. Clara was not separate from me. She was part of the labyrinth, bound to me because I had touched her cage. The cat leapt down, padding toward me. Its silver eyes burned, its presence overwhelming. "You will dissolve, you will fracture. You will become corridors, mirrors, cages. You will whisper in the walls, you will guide the next." I staggered back, heart pounding. "No, I won't." The cat pressed against my legs, its fur cold, its weight heavy. "You already are." The library warped. The shelves stretched, the walls bent, the ceiling lowered. The books whispered, their pages fluttering, their words shifting. I saw my own name written in them over and over, in countless hands. The cat purred louder, its voice filling my mind. "You are the labyrinth. You are endless." I collapsed to my knees, trembling, lamp flickering in my hand. The shadows pressed closer, their voices rising, their hands cold. The cat leapt onto my shoulder, claws digging into my skin. Its silver eyes gleamed, and I understood. I was no longer myself. I was becoming the house. The villagers tried once more. I watched them from the manor's warped windows as they carried torches, their faces grim, their voices trembling with prayers. They believed fire could end it, that flame could consume the hunger. But the house was no longer wood and stone. It was flesh. It was breath. It was me. When the torches touched the walls, the flames spread unnaturally fast, racing across beams and curtains, leaping into the forest. The villagers screamed as the fire twisted, not destroying but transforming. The trees blackened, their branches stretching into corridors. The smoke thickened, curling into mirrors that reflected their terror. The cat prowled among them, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking. It did not burn. It did not flee. It watched, patient, as the villagers were swallowed by shadows. Their voices rose, pleading, accusing, then fell silent. I felt them inside me. The labyrinth grew. I staggered through the manor, walls shifting, corridors stretching. My body dissolved into passages. My breath became whispers. My heartbeat became the groan of wood. Clara's voice echoed inside me, no longer pleading but laughing, fractured and endless. The cat leapt onto my shoulder, claws digging into my skin. Its voice filled my mind, resonant and undeniable. You are the house. You are the labyrinth. You are endless. I collapsed, but there was no floor. Only corridors, mirrors, cages. My hands dissolved into walls, my eyes into windows, my voice into whispers. I was no longer myself. I was the manor. Through countless mirrors, I watched new travelers arrive. Scholars, wanderers, fools, each drawn by curiosity, each believing they were safe. The cat greeted them at the threshold, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking. I whispered through the walls, my voice fractured, my words endless. Come, enter. Cross the threshold. The cycle continued. The cat led them into corridors of mirrors, into chambers of cages, into feasts of reflections. They resisted, they pleaded, they screamed. But resistance was fragile. The house was patient. The labyrinth was hungry, and I was the labyrinth. I felt every step, every breath, every scream. I grew with each soul consumed, each shadow bound, each reflection shattered. The house expanded, corridors stretching into the forest, mirrors rippling into the sky, cages filling with shadows. The cat purred, deep and resonant, vibrating through the endless halls. Its silver eyes gleamed, patient, eternal. I understood now. The cat was not servant nor master. It was the threshold, the passage, the guide. It chose who may enter, who may cross, who may dissolve. And I was its vessel. The villagers were gone. The forest was gone. The world beyond the manor was gone. Only the labyrinth remained, endless and hungry. Through countless mirrors, I watched myself dissolve, fracture, multiply. I was infinite. I was endless. I was the house. The cat sat at the threshold, silver eyes gleaming, tail flicking. It waited, patient, eternal. And when the next traveler arrived, curious and unafraid, I whispered through the walls, "Welcome, the house has been waiting for you."